Except, except something.
Hey, I don't know.
County, you know it was.
We good to go, Victoria?
Yes, I just got the live going.
So we're good to go.
We're good.
All right, well, we will call this order. Robert Johnson, if he would lead us in prayer.
Yes, ma'am. Let us pray. Most gracious, loving Heavenly Father, come to you again, Lord. Thank you. Every blessing of life and store from us, the help and strength give us to be able to go about our daily tasks, chores. We thank you, Lord, for the opportunity to meet with our fellow board members to take care of the business, communities, and counties, and families. Now we ask that you go with us through this meeting. We ask that you would bless us, keep us safe on the journey home. Lord, most of all, we just thank you for your Heavenly Father, the one that died on the cross for our sins, for the sake of Jesus Christ. We ask all this in His precious name. Amen.
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 Thank you. All right, and if you will, we'll stand and do the pledge to the flag.
All right.
Pledge. I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll ask for consideration of the August minutes.
Motion for approval, Madam
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, we'll do the roll call since we've got a few here and a few there. Dennis Aldridge,
Yes.
Gary Blevins,
Yes.
Jim Blevins.
Yes.
I saw Rocky Buchanan.
Yes.
Okay. Teresa Collada,
Yes.
Larry Fontaine,
Yes.
Tom Hartman,
Yes.
Robert Johnson,
Yes.
Brenda Lyerly,
Yes.
Doug Matheson.
Here.
Todd DeVille,
Yes.
Kelly Mullane. Are you with us, Kelly?
Yes.
Okay. Johnny Riddle.
Aye.
Paul Robinson,
Yes.
Andy Sitz,
Yes.
Chuck Vines.
Here.
Did that get everybody?
I believe so. And who was the motion and second for the minutes?
Robert.
Robert.
That was the second.
Yeah. Todd made the motion and Robert second.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, so everyone approves, so that motion carries. Next, we'll have financial matters, and I think Julie is going to do that.
Yes, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
So Julie was not able to join us this evening, so I wanted to present the highlights and budget amendment number 2. Regarding the financial highlights, there wasn't anything particularly notable that's changed since last month. Did want to mention again that the unassigned fund balance estimate is 14.75%. As discussed in previous meetings, it has fallen below unassigned fund balance policy of 16%, largely, if not exclusively, because of the budget rather been a decrease in cash. But the official unassigned fund balance is determined in relation to the audit. So that they may or may not be below 16% for the audit numbers. Otherwise, we have just over $1 million in cash between our operating account and our investment account with North Carolina Capital Management Trust. Other highlights is just that we're about to go through our healthcare open enrollment with Blue Cross state health plan, which has been helpful with controlling the cost for our health insurance premiums. And otherwise, the finance department has been still in the midst of getting all of the documentation uploaded for the auditors to conduct their annual audit. The audit firm has no plans to go on site to any location, so it'll be a little bit different this year. It may take them a little bit more time and a little bit more work on our end, but that is going smoothly. Before I move on to the amendment, are there any questions, concerns, or comments about the financial highlights?
I don't know if anybody else is having any problem with this Andrew Suits. I can't hear anything.
I can't hear.
It's
Anything
very,
at all.
very, very distorted.
It
Yes,
is, I
coming in
agree.
very broken on my phone.
Same here with me.
Now, everybody that was replying, I could hear them perfect, but some reason or another on her report, I heard nothing, just, I mean, very broken.
As a suggestion, a lot of times they put microphones in front of the people on the Zoom meeting, and that tends to make the vocals a little less distorted. I believe we're using our computer microphones, which is why we're sounding clear to each other.
We had the same problem with the one in Wilkesboro, and what was happening was the microphones was listening and trying to pick up noise and is overcompensating from another microphone if there was another microphone in the same vicinity, and you was getting an echo.
He was wearing a mask. I think she had a mask on. That might be why you couldn't hear.
Okay, everyone, I'm sorry about that. I thought that this might be the way I would need to give the report. So I'm going to close my door over to prevent the echo. Okay. Regarding the financial highlights, unfortunately, Julie Page wasn't able to join us this evening, but I wanted to let you all know that there wasn't really anything particularly notable about the financial highlights, but there is a budget amendment that will be proposed. Regarding the financial highlights, what I mentioned a moment ago is that the estimated fund balance is still below our policy of 16%. But as we've discussed in previous meetings, the actual fund balance is only determined annually as it relates to the audit numbers. So at this point, it's still an estimate, and we'll know more if we are officially below our unassigned fund balance policy of 16%, at which point, if we are, we, based on the amended policy, will have 3 years to implement a corrective action plan. Considering that there weren't really particularly notable changes, the only other thing I wanted to mention is we do still have $1.5 million in cash in our operating account and in our North Carolina Capital Management Trust account, which is basically our investment account. And the other highlights that I wanted to mention were just that we are going to be in the process of doing open enrollment for our healthcare plan. This is, we are now in the state healthcare plan and have been for a number of years, which has helped our premium cost as a cost control measure for the COG. So that's been very helpful. And then otherwise, the finance department has still been very busy with uploading the needed material to the portal for the audit firm, as the auditors have no plans to go on site to audit any of the organizations. So there's a little bit more work on their end and a little bit more work on our end to get everything uploaded in an electronic format, but everything is going smoothly. So that is the financial highlights report. Are there any questions, concerns about that? Could everyone hear me?
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
loud
Yeah.
and clear.
Excellent. Okay, if there are no questions or concerns, I will move on to budget amendment number 2. Budget amendment number 2 has slightly over a $500,000 increase in the workforce development department. To clarify, last month we had a decrease in that department, but it was related to a particular grant that was slightly less than what we anticipated, the emergency dislocated worker grant. This $502,000 is essentially what they call the carryover fund. So as I was explaining to the advisory committee, and Keith's on the call, so he can elaborate if I don't say this exactly correctly, but with the Workforce Innovation and Opportunity Act, it's a federal program. It's managed at the state by the Department of Commerce. So the way the funds are managed to balance the federal fiscal year and the state fiscal year is that there's a certain estimated allocation at the beginning of the year, and after the funds for the prior fiscal year, state fiscal year, have been monitored, then they release the allocation for the next fiscal year, which in this case was roughly $500,000 than was anticipated originally. Thus the increase of $502,638 for a total COG budget now of $7.731 million. Any questions or concerns about budget amendment number 2?
Mhm.
Okay, that concludes the report, Madam Chair, and I'll turn it over to you for the vote.
Okay. You want to do 2 different motions or do 1 motion for both of the financial matters?
I would recommend one. I'll make the motion that we approve the financial report and also budget amendment number 2. This is Gary Clark.
All right.
I
we have
s-
a second.
Lang seconds.
Okay. We actually had a motion and a second here in the boardroom. Thank you guys, though. Okay, sorry.
Who was the second?
It was Robert Johnson. Gary made the motion and Robert seconded. So now I'll do if there's no further questions, I'll do a discussion. I'll go ahead and do the roll call. Dennis Aldridge.
Aye.
Yeah, well, Gary made the motion. Jim Evans. Jim.
Yes, I approve.
Rennie.
Aye.
Rocky.
Yes.
Rita Zapata,
Yes.
Larry Fontaine,
Yes.
Tom Hartman,
Aye.
Brenda Lyerly,
Yes.
Doug Matheson,
Yes.
Todd McNeil,
Yes.
Kelly Malang,
Aye.
Johnny Riddle,
Aye.
Paul Robinson,
Aye.
Pitts. You still here, Andy?
Yeah, I'm here. Yes, I'm with you.
Okay.
And
And
yes for the vote.
Chuck Vines.
Yes.
Okay, that motion carries and those financial matters have been approved. Okay, next up, we have the proposed updates to the charter and Ms. Julie Wigg.
Okay, great. So as we've discussed for the past several months, just kind of a quick backstory is, or just to recap really, is when we went to have the budget vote for fiscal year 21, I happened to notice that there was 60% definition of quorum in the charter. I had asked an attorney that I had worked with and was working with on another matter the opinion, and upon review, it was recommended ultimately that that the vote be taken again with the 60% definition. The conclusion was that in looking at the general statute that authorizes the regional COGs, looking at the charter, and in looking at the bylaws, the recommendation was that executive committee, council board, and executive board read to mean all of the same thing, and basically references the same thing was the conclusion. So the recommendation was to have the budget vote again and to follow the 60% quorum. Some other events since have transpired, even since I sent out the proposed changes that we discussed last month. So what I wanted to follow up from the advisory committee discussion was that it was pointed out that a wording difference that I had missed, despite the number of times I've read this. If you look at page 3 that Victoria has pulled up, there in the middle, or really, I guess a little bit more towards the top, item number 2, one elected official from a municipality within each county's municipal representative being selected. So the key word there being from a municipality within each of the counties. So I'll go ahead and I guess recap the discussion that we had in the advisory committee is that we could make the changes potentially to have the maximum number of executive committee members is 27 to be consistent with the number of board members that we currently have, because in effect, the executive committee doesn't really exist. It's also discussed that at some point along the way, there maybe wasn't necessarily a charter amendment, but there was some kind of action taken to incorporate all municipalities within each county. So we'll start looking for that documentation. But in conclusion, what the advisory committee discussed is to go ahead and present these changes to the full board of having a maximum number of executive committee members of 27 with 50% serving as quorum, which would be consistent with the bylaws, and then having a small committee to comprehensively review all of the documents to make them more cohesive and update the language to be consistent with how we actually function today, and then also incorporating these changes that have taken place along the way that I have not seen, but we will track down. Advisory committee members, please weigh in on items that I may have missed. Or are there any questions or concerns? And Jeff, I think the advisory committee also wanted you to weigh in if you felt like that was an acceptable way to proceed.
I don't have a problem with the changes that are being made. My concern would be that there may be new municipalities added. I think that's how this number problem came up in the first place, that there's just been new municipalities added over the years. The other concern would be that there's, for future consideration, the word committee might be better stated if it was called a board, and then the advisory board might, that's more like a committee, but I don't see any problem with these changes. In fact, I think they're necessary to comport with the way that things have been done since I can remember. The bylaw, I think that these changes make the charter consistent with the bylaws.
I've got a question, if I may. This is Andy Suits speaking. In this let's see, number 3, on page number 3, on 1, 2, and 3, it says one elected official from each county's board of commissioners, and then the next one is one elected official from a municipality within each county. So like in our county, one of us, either North Wilkesboro or Wilkesboro is going to be left out, right?
Right, and that's exactly what was brought up that I just had missed in the process of reviewing these, is that that's how it currently reads. You're exactly right. And it sounds as though at some point along the way, there was some kind of action taken, and I haven't seen the documentation, but there was some kind of action taken so that every municipality within each county would be represented on the board.
Well, if they agree to join and become part of the Region D or High Country, because for instance, there's a municipality that's Grandfather Mountain that has never been part of this. So I think it would be each member municipality would be the correct words. But again, I was assuming that was going to be the next set of revisions.
Is the number 3 set up based on the consensus that we're currently taking for this year, with that point about 1 vote per 10,000 populations or a fraction thereof?
I'm sorry, ask me that one more time.
Is that number 3 under item C on the voting, the weighted voting, is that going to be based off our census that we have coming up to count the number of full-time residents of High Country municipalities?
It is in the event that a weighted vote would be called. And if I'm not mistaken, I think it's only been used once, and you'll correct me if I'm wrong. So, but yes, the way we calculate member dues, or in the event that we needed weighted voting, we do really base our primary numbers on the census. And then there are other methods of determining population annually so that we can update it more regularly. But that's a great question.
Yeah, I don't remember in over 30 years ever seeing a weighted vote.
Look, I don't either.
Yeah. Well, speaking for Lansing, population 157, this sounds a lot like the compromise of 1850 or something to me. I wouldn't be excited about that idea.
So were there any questions or concerns with the current proposed amendments to change the maximum number to 27, which really aligns the definition of executive committee with executive board, and the quorum being 50%. So that's the first part of the question. And then do you all want to go ahead and update item number 2 at the top of page 3? Victoria, if you don't mind scrolling back up just a little bit. One of the things that was discussed in the advisory committee is, should we go ahead and have that read one elected official from every municipality within each county?
I would say each member municipality.
That's right.
Yeah, I think that's a better idea.
Too.
I like that terminology better.
Julie, this is Potter. You done? I think I'm going to make a motion.
I'm sorry, that too?
This is Potter. Can we make both of these changes in one motion, or do you want two?
Madam Chair and Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we could probably make all 3 of those changes in one vote.
I would think so.
Member. Yeah, that the number.
And the 50%.
Okay. All right, Madam Chair, I would make a motion that we amend our charter under Article 1, Section 3, subsection B, to first to change
the maximum number of committee members from 15 to 27. Just above that, to change the verbiage from a municipality within each county to all municipalities within each county. Member, right?
Member.
Each member, and on down to change the percent of members required for quorum to 50% from 60.
One other point of clarification, excuse me, this is Jeff talking again. Where you talk about each member municipality, that when you add that language, that sentence should end after the word county. Where it says within each county, and that sentence should end there, because the rest of that is contemplating there's only one per county. Where it says with each municipal representative being selected by a caucus, that would be unnecessary when you've got when there's each municipality has a representative.
I will
Right.
This gets recommendation.
County Biddle, I'll second that motion.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any more discussion? And we'll go ahead and do a roll call. Dennis Aldridge,
Aye.
Gary Blevins.
Yeah.
Ken Blevins,
Aye.
France,
Aye.
Shannon,
Aye.
Teresa Plata,
Aye.
Gary Fontaine,
Aye.
Tom Hartman,
Aye.
Robert Johnson,
Yes.
Brenda Wirely,
Aye.
Doug Knapp,
Aye.
Kelly Malone,
Aye.
Paul Robinson,
Aye.
Andy Sutts,
Yes.
Chuck Vines.
Yes.
Motion carries. Thank you. All right, next we have on the agenda Keith Devereaux with Workforce Development Update.
Good evening, Madam Chair and fellow board members. As always, it's a pleasure to come before you tonight. And I want to start off with the unemployment rates as you see before you. Allegheny County has an unemployment rate of 7.1%. This was an increase. Ashe County has an unemployment rate of 7%. This was an increase also. Avery County has an unemployment rate of 6.7%. That was an increase. And Mitchell County's unemployment rate was 8.8%. That was also an increase. Watauga County has an unemployment rate of 6.6%, which is an increase also. And Wilkes County has an unemployment rate of 7.5%, which is also another increase. Yancey's County unemployment rate is 7.7%, and that was an increase. For the High Country region, as a region of all 7 counties, our unemployment rate was 7.2%. That was an increase from 6.3% from the previous month. North Carolina's unemployment rate as a state as a whole is at 8.9%, and that is an increase from 7.7%. For the United States, the unemployment rate is 10.5%, and that is a decrease from 11.2%. One thing that I want to make you aware of is that due to Governor Cooper's executive order of us placing us in phase 2.5, we are providing workforce services remotely and virtually. We had hoped to open up and have our centers doing taking appointments, but because the governor has placed us in phase 2.5, our state counterparts, DWS, which is our biggest partner and has employees in the center, they cannot interact with the public until we go in to phase 3. Therefore, we did not have enough contract staff to operate all 7 counties, all 7 NC Works career centers in all of our 7 counties. So we are providing services remotely and virtually. Both the contracted staff and the DWS staff are working in the centers. As of currently, the centers are closed to the public, but they are providing those services remotely and virtually. In the event that those services cannot be provided to our customers remotely and virtually, then they set up an appointment for that individual to come into the center on an as-needed case-by-case basis. The staff is in the center, they're closed, we're not open fully to the public, and they are rotating days so that we don't have a lot of staff in the center at the same time. So on rotating days, there'll be a portion that will be at home teleworking, while a portion of the staff will be in the center still providing remote services virtually. We are hoping that when we move to phase 3, we're hoping we will get there in October. It looks like every time the line keeps getting moved and moved, but we are taking safety protocols and precautions. And once we do enter phase 3, we will open the centers, but it will be by appointment because we still want to limit the amount of people that we're going to have in the centers. But so that's how our centers are operating now. I do want to make you aware that, as you know, we are having a new WIA service provider. It used to be Rest Care, which is, they went under a name change of Equus Workforce Solutions. They are going to be transitioning out, and effective October 1, Goodwill Industries of the Northwest will be our WIA service provider. We are extremely excited about this partnership. Goodwill has a big name and presence. They've always done great things in the community, and they are all about career and job development. So we think that this is going to be an ideal partnership for some time to come. They have been putting together their team of people that will be working with them, working for us to provide workforce services in the 4-county area of Wilkes, Ashe, Allegheny, and Watauga. As you all know, Avery Mitchell Yancey, Mayland Community College is our provider in those 3 counties. So right now, they have hired Jessica Greer, who is going to be the NC Works WIOA Regional Manager. The WIA Program Manager is going to be Laura Patrick, and we are going to have Jeanette Vines, who will be the WIA Adult Case Manager in Boone, along with a Deborah Britton, who will be the Youth Case Manager in Boone. In Wilkes, it will be Mary Jolly, and she will be the Adult Case Manager, along with Livia Culper. She will be the Youth Case Manager in Wilkes. And then in Ashe and Allegheny, that will be, the case manager will be Alan Osborne, and he will do adult and youth. So as of right now, that's their slate of employees that they're going to have providing workforce services. As you can see in your packet, I won't go through all that, but the unemployment insurance claims for July, and it's broken down by your 7 counties, so you can see that as it relates to COVID related and continued claims being filed. Also in your packet, you saw the labor market overview, and you can read that at your leisure. That has some good information and the unemployment rates that I just spoke of. And next is you might have noticed as you drive by your NC Works Career Centers, there's been a new logo for each of the centers. The North Carolina Department of Commerce, the Division of Workforce Solutions, they went through a new rebranding, and the NC Works logo has changed. So it's now the NC Works Career Center, a proud partner of the American Jobs Corporation. And so at each of the centers, you can see that the logo has changed. Now it's this sort of aqua blue and green, and it has like a swirl under it. That is the new branding logo that the North Carolina Department of Commerce and Division of Workforce Solutions implemented. So we had to have all of our signs changed to represent that new logo. The good thing about it is that we did not have to pay for that. The Commerce Department took 100% of the cost of creating the sign and installation. So, but I did want to make you aware that the new branding and the new logo, as you see it at the NC Works Career Center on signs, it's just, we're still there. It's just that they did a new rebranding and logo change. So as she scrolls through those pictures, you will see at the various NC Works locations the new signage that has been put up. And Madam Chairman, that concludes my workforce report update for the day.
Anybody have any questions for Keith? Thank you, dear. We appreciate it.
Thank you. I appreciate each and every one of you all.
Next up, we have Phil True with planning and development updates.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Tonight, I want to talk about 3 grant programs not requiring any action on your part. First one is the CDBG Infrastructure Program. It's a program that's been around for quite a while. It got shifted over from North Carolina Department of Commerce to North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality in 2013. There's about $25 million available statewide each year in that program. Program provides grants to local governments to conduct water and sewer projects that either address a public health need or an environmental health problem. It's a very competitive program. Last year, there was 37 million requested and 25 million available. 2019, there was 47 million requested and 25 million available. There's a $2 million maximum grant per project. And what's very attractive on this program is there's no local match required. The other bit, you have to, like I said, the projects have to address public health or environmental health problem. The other criteria in the program is you have to benefit predominantly low to moderate income people, households. So there's two ways to show the benefit to low moderate income individuals. The first way, if you want to do water or sewer project in a particular neighborhood, there has to be door-to-door income surveys of those residents. As an alternative to that, if you work on a project that has town-wide benefits, such as a water treatment plant, wastewater treatment plant, or a water tank, you can use the low moderate income figure for the entire town. And 10 of our 19 municipalities have over 51% low moderate income. So we can justify those town-wide benefit projects in those towns without doing the door-to-door surveying. This year, the applications are due late November. We're currently working on 4 applications. Town of Burnsville has a lot of infiltration and inflow problems in their sewer treatment, in their sewer collection system, to the tune that when it rains, about 2/3 of the flow to the wastewater treatment plant is from stormwater. So it's a huge problem for the town. We're going to apply for close to the maximum of $2 million to replace the main sewer interceptors. Very similarly, in West Jefferson, there's a lot of infiltration and inflow in the main collector system, sewer collector system. Applying for funds to address that is going to be a very, very challenging project. just logistically, because the sewer lines we're proposing to replace are in the downtown area, some of which go under buildings and through narrow alleys. Fourth project we're applying for CDBG funds for is in Lansing to make various improvements to their wastewater treatment plant. It's a resubmittal from a same project we applied for last year, did not get funded. And then very similar in town of Sparta, their main sewer line collector that parallels Bledsoe Creek was partially unearthed during floods associated with Hurricanes Michael and Florence. So the proposed project is to redo that sewer line and set it back away from the creek to prevent that happening in the future. Again, those applications, we'll submit those mid to late November, and decisions are typically made in February or March. Second program I want to mention is the 205J program. That's a reference to a section of the Federal Clean Water Act. It's federal funds that come through the North Carolina Department of Environmental Quality. Councils of governments are the only entities eligible to apply for those grants, and they are grants to conduct water quality planning. In December, I talked about a 205J grant we got last year to do stormwater planning in the Winklers Creek watershed in Boone. That project's underway. We conducted the stormwater mapping in that area, and Brushy Fork Consulting is currently working on developing stormwater plan for stormwater improvements that will improve water quality. Good sideline benefit of that is it hopefully will eliminate some flooding issues. So this year we're going to submit 2 applications. First one is for West Jefferson. It'll be a pass-through. If we're successful, we'll pass the money straight through to West Jefferson. They will use it to hire a consultant to do a stormwater planning effort townwide there to identify areas where they can do stormwater retention and detention to improve water quality. We'll also apply for funds that we'll use in-house to do a project in Burnsville in which we will map using GIS technology the entire stormwater system in the town. That's a good first step anywhere to start addressing your stormwater problems, is knowing where your stormwater infrastructure is. So those applications were both submitted last month. Decisions typically are made before the end of the calendar year. So hopefully later on this year, I'll be able to bring some good news about those projects. Last program I'll mention is North Carolina Parks and Rec Trust Fund. Been around for years and years, very popular. This last year, the Parks and Rec Trust Fund Authority just made decisions this week on projects for this year. There was $20 million requested with $5 million available. So it's very, very competitive program. 16 projects were funded statewide. The only one in our region was Town of Boone's Skate Park. So I just want to mention those 3 programs, stuff we're working on, and we'll continue to work on. And then the Boone's part of, just wanted to make that announcement. We're glad to answer any questions you may have.
Phil, I have a question. You may explain it different, but you talked about the option you may have with water and sewer as far as doing a door-to-door survey. There was another option. Now, what was that option?
The other option is if the town-wide low moderate income benefit is over 51%, then we can apply for funds to do town-wide improvements. So all 4 of those projects I mentioned are not based on door-to-door surveys, because all 4 of the projects will serve the entire towns in which they're located.
I'm sorry. That second option, the 51%, where does that figure come from?
The Census Bureau, American Community Survey.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Anybody else have anything for Phil?
Quick question on the Town of Boone skate park. Do you know how much was granted toward that?
72,500.
Thank you.
And those grants require 50% or dollar for dollar match.
Okay, that's awesome. Thank you very much.
Phil, this is Andy Suits from town of Wilkesboro. On those, was ours included in that, the one that we've been waiting on that was put off for 2 or 3 months or something? Do you know about that, and where was reworking our park, Cub Creek Park system? Was that part of that system, part of that grant process?
Andy, I'm trying to remember, because I think y'all put in applications. We're working on one currently for improvements to Cub Creek Park, I think.
Yeah.
Handicapped accessible facilities.
Yes.
I think that was in that round.
So we missed out on that?
I'm pretty sure they did not. I did not get a list of all the applications, just the ones that got funded.
What's our options on that? Can we go back on that next year, or how long it is before we can reapply?
Once a year.
Once a year.
Phil, on that Boone skate park, is that 100% funded with public funds?
I don't know. We did not work on that application. I know there has to be dollar for dollar match, but you can use the value of land donation as part of that match.
All right.
So that would be the only way in which it was not all public funds. Otherwise, the town of Boone would have had to put up cash match for that.
I do know there were many fundraisers for that skate park, as well as the donation of land that probably brought the money up on that.
Thanks, Kelly.
Any other questions for Phil? Thank you, Phil. We appreciate your report.
Sure.
We have a report from Advisory Committee and Executive Director Julie Wiggins.
Hey, so I wanted to just present a few items here. For one, we had listed, and you all voted to support the surplus property of what we call car 5. So it was one of the remaining cars from the old fleet. And with COVID, we're not driving nearly as much. Determined the car really wasn't needed. It's getting older. Bids were due about midday this past Friday. We did have a few bids, and the highest was $817. So we'll begin working towards that, and that falls, you know, mid-range with what I determined to be the Kelly Blue Book based on some of the parameters that I put in. It is a woman out of Michigan, but she'll be traveling here to do the transaction. So we'll start working on that this week. Let's see, I'm just trying to figure out what order I want to go in. The advisory committee has nominated and appointed Mayor Wes Brenniger from the town of Sparta to serve on the advisory committee. So I want to send a congratulations to Mayor Wes, as he's, I hear, known locally. And a couple of items I wanted to talk about, the COG statewide forum and the appointment there, Madam Chair. And then I also wanted to ask if you all want to discuss now who might comprise the Charter and Bylaws Review Committee, but maybe we'll start with the forum. And if you all want to discuss that review committee, we can do that as well. I'll give a little bit of update. Commissioner Blevins, if you will chime in to, elaborate on the group and what your role has been and the items that have been achieved and things that the needle's been moved on. And Madam Chair, then I'll turn it over to you for discussion on the appointment. So what I often refer to as a statewide association. There's 16 COGs across the state. The COG directors have a group and we get together somewhat regularly to discuss different issues, advocate for different things. And similarly, each COG board sends a representative to discuss and take action and decide the direction and advocate for items that are in COG's best interest throughout the state. Commissioner Blevins has served in that role for several years now and served as chairperson for 2 years. And that position will be vacant as of December. So Gary, I'll ask if you want to add anything about that appointment that others might benefit.
It would be, there are quarterly meetings and once we get off of the Zoom system, they will be held regionally, sometimes Winston, possibly Raleigh, and even possibly further east. The High Country has covered my expenses and mileage for those meetings. It's a 2-day commitment. And so I would suggest anybody that's interested, let Julie know, and then we'll just try to figure out who best fits that role. You need to commit to attending pretty regularly, and it's a great organization. We need good representation there. They have a lot of influence with the legislature, and it can benefit us in terms of revenue and in terms of getting programs put on a regional basis that would help us continue to grow.
And what's been discussed, and Madam Chair, I don't mean to get ahead of you, but there's a discussion about having a small committee to discuss and get nominees for who could serve in that position and potentially a delegate and an alternate even.
Or if we want to have, if anyone wants to volunteer, I mean, and if we think they would be very suitable for that or whatever, that would be fine too. But I agree, I think we need like someone that would be interested and an alternate. Yes, definitely. Yeah.
Well, great volunteer.
Silence is deafening.
He'll be great volunteer.
So if you want to think about it, I mean, it's nothing we have to do tonight, but in the near future.
Could it be something that people that are interested in,
That would be fine.
and then create a list of names and put that list of names out to the board? Each board member could come back with, accordingly, I'm sure we're going to have 50 to 100 names on that list. So we could each come down to 3 top contenders, and then based on the 3 top contenders, choose from there.
I doubt we'll have that many volunteers. Yeah, that would be fine. That would be fine. But yeah, that sounds like a plan. So if you want to volunteer, if you want to email Julie, that's probably the easiest person to get in touch with. And then, we'll go from there. Sounds like a good idea.
And I can email everyone tomorrow, just kind of as a reminder for those that weren't able to be on the call this evening.
Julie, if you don't mind, just to jump in real quick, if you don't mind on that email, send out the requirements of the position. So then that way each member can understand the time commitment, and the responsibility, just to make sure they know what they're signing up for.
Great. Do you all want to discuss who might be on a review committee for the charter and the bylaws, or do you want to think about that and discuss that next month?
Will anything be any different next month?
No, just more time to think about it, I guess. Or if, I guess, Madam Chair, I'll ask you, do you want to go ahead and ask for volunteers for that committee or appoint some individuals?
Sometimes the easiest way to do these sorts of things is just have the chair ask around and then appoint a committee and let the chair, I mean, you're the chair. We've entrusted you as the leader of the group. I think you're capable of figuring out who could be on the committee to change the charter. And then that just simplifies. And we just would trust you to make a good judgment. We got 20.
Yeah, I think that's the way to do it.
Totally agree.
I will go home this evening and study over my little list, and how about I email Julie tomorrow, and then we'll send an email to those of you that we think, if you don't mind, and if you're not interested, you can just tell us, and if you are, we'll find somebody else. If you're not, I mean, we'll put somebody else in. But I'm thinking maybe maybe 4 or 5. I think that'd be plenty. So does that sound like a plan, Julie?
Sounds great.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Okay. See, I guess the main other thing that I did want to mention, we had another managers meeting. We've been trying to do those as issues have arisen that would warrant a good discussion. So we've been having those a little bit more regularly. And I also wanted to mention that there's a town hall that is being named after a long-time mayor in the town of Bakersville, Mayor Charles Vines. I didn't know if he wanted to tell us a little bit about that.
Speech.
I think I gave them, I couldn't talk for several minutes. Yeah. And, it was a shock to me, but it was an extreme honor to me also. That, I was actually lost for words, had no idea it was going to happen. The only thing is I had a board member come to me and have to be put on the agenda, but not as the board. So I didn't know what he was going to say or have a clue what he was going to say till he began. But, it was a tremendous honor, I will tell you that. So the Bakersville Town Hall will be named the Charles E. Vines Town Hall.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Here,
Well
here.
deserved.
Yes.
Madam Chair, that concludes my updates. Unless you all have any questions or concerns.
Covered it well as usual. Motion to adjourn.
Public comments.
I'll second it unless the Madam Chair has some other things that she wants to talk about.
Oh, wait a minute. I've got something I'd like to talk about down in Wilkesboro.
I have something to add from Beach Mountain.
Take that. So Andy, I'd say you go ahead, and then Kelly, you go ahead.
Okay, I didn't hear any response, so I didn't know. I talked to Julie about this today. Since we've got these Zoom meetings and everybody is so stressed, seems like, about it. I know that I'm on the Brock board, and since we started these Zoom meetings, our attendance has dropped probably 25%. I mean, dropped 75 to 25. And we just can't seem to get everybody together. And anyway, since things is loosening up a little bit, and I know a lot of people wants to wear a mask, and a lot of people just feels like they've got to, and that's fine, or be far away from people. That's everybody's individual decision, I think. But since we're so stressed for a room up there in Boone, I'd like to make a suggestion. It's available. I feel sure I can get it worked out that we can meet in Wilkesboro at our Civic Center, and we've got a tremendous amount of room. And we do it now with the town council there, and we can space everybody out that we need to. We can Zoom from there. We can do whatever we want to, but I can make it see that that's available if y'all would like to maybe have our next meeting there. And maybe we can get more people to show up and without having to do this remotely. Anybody hear me?
I think that's a great idea, Andy. And what I wanted to add from Beach Mountain as a suggestion to other high country government officials, Beach Mountain has implemented a bear hit trash can fine, where it's 3 different levels of fines for bear hits on trash cans, where the public works has to go and clean the trash can up. And as a result of that fine, we have probably close to 60% of our population now have purchased bear resistant trash cans. So I just wanted to put it out there. If anybody else has the same type of problem that Beach Mountain had with bear hits, especially now that fall's coming in and they're getting ready to fatten on up, if you want to send me a message or whatever, I'll be happy to go over our fine system and the trash cans that we use. And then the last thing I wanted to put out there was the Land of Oz up on Beach Mountain is doing a locals night. It's October 1st. The 2 open time slots are 3 and 4 p.m. So if you've never been to the Land of Oz and you would like to come, it's a $5 donation to the Beach Mountain Volunteer Fire Department. And love to see you come up and follow the Yellow Brick Road.
Thank you for the invitation.
So are you finding the homeowner or the bear?
We are finding the homeowner, but we're chasing the bears.
All right. Good to know.
Do we have any other board member comments? If not, under chairwoman comments, I have an award that we've needed to present for several months now and have not been able to because we haven't been in person. So it's going to be my honor to present an award to our former chairman, Mr. Johnny Riddle, for his 2 years of service as the chairman of the High Country Council of Governments Executive Board. So,
I'm sure they'd rather me leave it on.
Oh, okay. Marilyn Monroe.
Try to get us going back over that
Can y'all see this?
very deserved.
All right. Well, that's mine. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's my honor.
Yeah.
Is there any other business? Any other business? Were there any public comments?
If somebody
No public
else really
comments?
got their heart set on it.
Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Yes.
So moved.
So moved. Second?
Second.
I'm not gonna do roll call. We're just gonna say good night.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night.
Everybody.
We'll see what next month brings.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Good meeting.
You know, some things are hard